No, I just unplugged something.
It was my turn till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old maker, Jesus, when I met you, you called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. I needed rescue. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, now you call me a citizen of heaven. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, now you call me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, 'cause when you called my name, I ran
Happy New Year, Forward Point. How are we doing this morning? Oh my goodness, some people stayed up too late. Happy New Year, Forward Point. How are you doing all this morning? Man, I'm waiting for Lee to give me a shout here. Lee? No, he's in the back there. All right, well, if anyone knows Forward Point, we are a community of faith, hope, and love, helping people find their... There we go. There's a crew in the back there. Because we believe you were created on... for a... And we want to be part of that story any way we can. It is quite an honor this morning. My name is Stephen Skinner. I'm one of the pastors here at Forward Point, and I am up here with another amazing pastor in our church that she's usually tucked away, my better half, my wife, Katrina.
Good morning, Forward Point. I'm excited to be up here and see all you this morning. My name is Katrina. I'm one of the pastors here, and I'm usually hiding either in Kidman or in prayer, so you see me around in the back. And if we have any kiddos here tonight, I see all of them back there.
There's an amazing kid. Wave, everyone. Wave your hands back there, you kid.
Can we get a cheer from the kids?
Look
there
at that. Eileen is the biggest kid of that crew there. Yes.
Miss Eileen and Kylie are ready to take you upstairs and have some fun and do some learning. She was telling me some of the exciting experiments she's doing this morning. I will not give it away, but you may have to ask the kids after service what they were doing today.
Katrina, if someone is new here to Forward Point today, which by the way too, let's give an amazing Forward Point welcome to an amazing group of young people here. Radiant Church is joining us today. Absolutely. There we go. Absolutely awesome. It's so awesome to have them there. I'm learning Zoe's name. I'm going to get Zoe's name. Anyway, Katrina, if someone's new here to Forward Point, what can they expect?
If you are new here, we have back in the Welcome Center, there are gift bags for you, and the Food Angel has some amazing goodies in there, so make sure you check that out. Also, go to text WELCOME to our phone number, 315-883-2213, to join with us, fill out the digital connection card. You could also connect with us for everyone on Facebook and our Instagram and our Twitter account. And the Church Center app. If you haven't joined our Church Center app, that's where we have all kinds of communities. We have prayer communities, we have life group communities, we have all kinds of communities and updates. So definitely download the Church Center app to connect with us there. There's a rack card at the welcome table with instructions. And
one of the ways on the Church Center app is you can stay connected to the events because as we all know, we've shared before, that life happens way more in circles, not necessarily in rows. So the goal is building community. How do we live on purpose? So again, it's not just a tagline. We ask you to say, we want you to live this out in your life. So one of the things the app will do is keep you connected. There's things literally almost going on every day of the week. And if you don't have something going on and you know Love Handles is open, just that amazing arcade in the back, bring your friends, have a good time. Mike is over there, absolutely. If Mike can get there, you can be there too. But one of the amazing things is all these events happening, and how many people here, I'm just because again, it was such a huge part of Forward Point, and then our wonderful COVID happened. How many people before have gone to the free Forward Point family movie night event? By show of hands, how many people? Not many, but it's gonna change your life because we are kicking it off end of January again. Let me just double check the dates, unless they have the dates here. I'm going to double check the dates
January
to make sure.
26th.
January
Thursday.
26th. Mark your calendar. Again, whether you go to Forward Point or not, it is the Forward Point Family Movie Night event here at the Palace Theater. I'm telling you, it is off the hook. Usually in the past, every seat will be filled. People will be lining up out the halls. Praying the fire marshal didn't come here. It is an amazing night, and sometimes we will bring in even literally cast actors. Maybe they might be mock actors, but still they look amazing, and you either have Iron Man or you have a princess out there. People can dress up. It is fun. It is for this entire community. You invite your friends. It's free. You know, whatever people can buy on concession supports the church, supports the theater, but you come for free. Bring your family. So it is Puss in Boots. There we go. Puss in Boots, free, January 26th. Mark your calendars. This is why you need to be on that Church Center app, because these are the things that you can get part of. If you would like to volunteer for this or other things coming up this year, we have a whole Into the Neighborhood community of volunteers that do great things for our community, help people out, volunteer at these events. So if it's making popcorn or coffee or hot chocolate or cookies or just greeting people at the door, we could use your help. It does not matter how long you've been here, just have a heart to serve. So in the meantime, we're going to continue on with our gathering. We'll see you, everyone.
Hello? Oh, there we go. I guess we have to unmute the microphone. Details. It's been an exciting 2022, and I thought that it would be important to kickstart our 2023 with a few weeks just kind of spending on where we've been as a faith community and where we're going as a faith community. We are just weeks away from some of the biggest things that Forward Point has been able to do up till this current date. Forward Point has been around for a while, but it's kind of changed throughout different world stages, COVID and whatnot. So we thought it would be important for everybody to kind of get a picture of some of the roots of where Forward Point came from, because when you think about some of the things that we accomplished over the past month, December was a really big month for us as far as getting into the neighborhood and being his hands and feet and building bridges to our community. A couple weeks ago, we got to say hello to Mr. and Mrs. Claus down at Love Handles, and we had people from the community. If you weren't able to be there, it was so much fun to see Love Handles just filled with people, both from Forward Point, from the community, having froyo together, telling Santa Claus what they wanted for Christmas. Some of you guys are trying to plead your case that you were a good person throughout the course of the year. I don't know if it worked or not for you, if you wound up waking up to coal on the 25th, but it was a lot of fun. And then just about a week later, you guys did an awesome job giving resources, picking up gift cards. I was able to go to Huntington School dressed up as, they called me Santa Doyle, and what we did is we delivered to every single staff member at Huntington, personally. We delivered a gift card from Love Handles, we delivered a gift card from a local Eastwood shop, and then we delivered some tasty treats. Some of you bakers in here probably never want to see a cookie again because you've been cooking and baking so many cookies, but it took about 3.5 hours, traveled up and down the different floors there in Huntington a couple times because you didn't catch everyone in the first round. By the end, I was sweating and hot and was ready to get out of there, but it was cool to see just each staff member super grateful. The principal super grateful. How in the world could you afford to do this? And I said, it's the people of Forward Point. They gave so that we could be able to give, and that was what we were able to accomplish. It was cool to see some of the way it impacted the community. There's a Eastwood Facebook page group that one of the teachers posted how she was a teaching assistant there at the school and talked about how they got something from the community and things were delivered, and just all sorts of people began to like the post and to share thanks and whatnot. So thank you so much, Forward Point, for helping us to be a part of that. And then if you were here on Christmas Eve, we got to talk about being hope dealers. Any hope dealers in the house this morning? Yeah, we got to be some hope dealers. My wife and one of my daughters traveled down to Pennsylvania to pick up 100 dozen boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts. And we were able to, that night, go out and delivered all 100 boxes. Gene was asking me this morning, hey, what'd you do with the leftover boxes? And I was like, Gene, they're Krispy Kreme donuts. There were no leftover donuts there. We were able to give out all 100. And one of the places was a local shop that was still open. Her name is Nikki. And she wound up posting just about how she was in tears because of the note that was on the box and for people going out and delivering those. So it was just an awesome thing to be a part of. Again, Forward Point is in the midst of living its best life, being able to do things that we've not been able to do up to this point, and it's just exciting to have you be a part of that, really be the driving force behind that. So this morning, what we want to do is dive into where we've been. Where did Forward Point come from? How did we get to where we're at? So I asked Mr. and Mrs. Skinner here if they'd be so kind to maybe share some of the story behind Forward Point. So tell us, guys, talk to us about life before Forward Point was even an idea. What was going on with the Skinner family and then the Walker family and what you guys were up to that led to this eventual launch here of the faith community?
So before Forward Point, we were busy with little children, like Jimmy's youngest 3, although we had 4 because we had the doubles at the end. But we had the kids. I was homeschooling, running the bookstore. Stephen was just getting into real estate at that point. Just as busy as we are now, but with different things. Always community-minded. Everything we've always been has been, what is it like to serve our community? And what does that look like wherever we are, whether it's a church that we're in or at the bookstore. You know, God was just calling us more and more to Eastwood, into this area, and maybe in a sense making our vision smaller by bringing us more to people, not the big vision of out there, but people, relationships is really where we were.
Yeah. We've always had this little joke among the Doyles and Skinners about when you think about the church, we think we've only been out for 6 months, and yet we know, and it's been longer than 6 months now, but time does fly when you're having fun. And I think about the fact that most people, when you start a church or you do something, you have a heart to say, oh man, I really always wanted to do this. I never wanted to do this. I wanted to be as far from it. But here's the thing about how I aim to see of where this last 6 to 10 years have gone, even 12 years has gone in our lives, is that when you set out to follow God, you don't know where he's going to take you. So it's not about necessarily about you just saying what you want to do. It's just saying, God, I'm all in. Where do you want to send me? And the things and the places he'll have you do are things that you would never imagine. So I couldn't be happier. It's like living in a dream, but yet in the same sense, hopefully that dream's not a nightmare. No, it's not. It's a wonderful thing, but nonetheless, it just never envisioned this. So it was, it's awesome.
So Katrina, why did your dad want to plant a church?
My dad has always been about, me and microphones is a new thing. My dad has always been about following God ever since I was little. We were in a small church plant when I was 4. I remember getting saved when I was 4. I remember that's part of the reason why I'm so passionate about Kidman is I remember my teacher. I remember the moment. So my parents have just always been about community and following God, whatever it is. So just watching my dad through the years being obedient to whatever God told him to do. And when God told him to branch out and start a church, he did. He's just always been obedient to follow the call, whether he understood it or not, whether it made sense or not. He was just all in. God told him to do something, and that's where he was going to go.
And then you guys were all going to the same church together. So why did you choose to join him in this plant effort?
Our kids were little at that point, and we needed to be in a place where we were with people who cared about the kids, who loved the kids. My mom did. My mom's an educator as well. So she took over the Kidman. She trained the kids in the church, and then I took over the babies at that point. But we wanted to be with them, with people that were following God in that way, that were being obedient to what God's call was. At that point, we were in Mattydale, and it was a small community. That's where Tina, if you've seen Tina around, came on board at that point. The first time we visited there, we were chasing a neighborhood dog that got out. So just lots of memories in Mattydale and the community and just serving and loving over there. And we wanted our kids to be with their grandparents and see them every weekend and, just have that feeling of being in a family.
Yeah, I mean, again, just to give some context to time frame, that was 2010. So beginning of 2010, where Brad and Sherry had already, my in-laws had already started this church that started out of their home that eventually became the storefront church. And again, their heart, very similar to ours, it's about reaching the love of Jesus into everyone, especially a lot of times when you go into a church, you always sort of feel like an outsider, and unless you're in that certain clique of being an inside part of the group, you just never feel in, and that was always, I think, rubbed them the wrong way, and so that's been our passion too. It's like, how do you, as God brings us into his family unconditionally, how do you do that? And so they did an amazing job at that, reaching their community where they were at from their home, then eventually into Mattydale. But that was 2010. We didn't join them right off the bat. They had already been going for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And the kids were all under 10 years old. I think it was 4 kids we had that were between 5 to 9 in that range. And it was just an amazing time that it was just a handful of people, basically like a size of a house church, but it was awesome. It was a great time, and we joined them right there in Mattydale and have some relationships all the way through today.
So when you guys got involved, what were your responsibilities? What did you guys do? You guys can't just sit in the chairs. You probably have to do something. So what were you guys doing?
So it is funny when you go to a small church, beware. You're going to probably be asked to do something pretty fast. So I've always been, my parents instilled in me a love for music, as most people know, that I love, worshiping the Lord. I love playing keyboard, guitar, if it's singing. So even in previous churches, they got me to get, out of my comfort zone and either learning to lead some worship. So when I went to the church there, obviously they didn't have any worship leader. It was a small handful group of people. So my father-in-law said, hey, would you, bring a guitar and play some songs for us? And so through that, being able to share some with some other individuals and people, start a little band. And again, I mean, anyone who wants to sing, anyone wants to play an instrument, just come and join us. So humble beginnings, but I did the music there for years, and obviously then Katrina, I think you worked with kids and prayer and things of that, right?
Yeah, in the beginning, my mom and I did prayer. Tina joined us a lot too, but just had a heart for prayer and praying for people, so we'd pray during worship. And then as we got more kids, then I would work in with the little kids. So
The kids ministry was, I think, four kids, which are 4 kids.
And they
but-
shared the
Yes.
same last name as the
Yes.
Kidman leader?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it was great.
So how long was this? How long are you faithfully every week serving in Kidman, serving, leading the music? How long are we talking?
has it stopped?
Well, so yeah, give us an idea. How many years have we been doing this?
So I started in 2010 doing the worship leading, and obviously if it wasn't for some amazing musicians here, I'd probably still be up here, but we have, the duties and the amazing band that's up here, and obviously I can go on and on about all the people that make Forward Point happen today, but I think I did at least 10 years, 11 years of almost every Sunday, maybe took 1 or 2 weeks off during a 10-year span, but yeah, I led all the worship, and then Katrina, you Sharon, you did a lot of kids.
Well, we had a ministry with the kids, and when you're a tiny church like that, and a single mom or a mom comes in with a child, you're not going to ask the mom to work in Kidman and come to church at the same time. So it pretty much was me with the babies and my mom with my kids. So we just kind of we didn't bounce. That was just what we did.
Yeah, well, this is important because it's a foundation of some fertile soil of stuff that's happening in your hearts. Because 2010, did you ever see you leading Forward Point in the future? Was that ever in the radar that's why you're doing this, to kind of someday assume the mantle, or why did you do it?
In fact, I think someone almost, Katrina almost, I think, stabbed someone over dinner once, even when it was suggested about being a pastor in the church.
With a fork, nothing
It was
worse.
a fork, yes. She didn't make the news at all, but yeah, it was in, I think it was in 2015. We have been very blessed to have some amazing overseers. One of our overseers, the man who ordained me back in 2016, he last year went to be with the Lord, but nonetheless, when he brought up the suggestion that he, through prayer, really believed that Katrina and I should be in full-time ministry and should be in a place where we should be pastoring a church, obviously that didn't sit too well, because again, we weren't looking for that. When you have little kids and when you have a lot of chaos in your life, and we, as most people know, we're small business owners, so part of my whole life has just been chasing to just, I tell my kids and I tell my teammates and my staff, I'm like, if you want to know the face of desperation, look into my eyes. I'm a very desperate man. But nonetheless, it's always been just clawing and scratching to just be able to survive. And then this bombshell gets dropped on in 2015. Would you consider leading a church? Would you consider, even though it was a small church, would you consider leading it? And
so before we get to that,
yes,
so that's 2015. So for 5 years, you've been faithfully serving
yes,
every week. Maybe can count on one hand, maybe both hands, the amount of gatherings that you've missed because sickness, or maybe we allowed you to go on vacation or something, I don't know, but probably very small number that you missed. Throughout that time, serving faithfully every single week, no grandiose plans to take over at any point. Walk us through some of the different places that you've seen Forward Point, then I forget, what was the name it was before Forward?
it was called Community Christian Fellowship.
Community Christian Fellowship. Tell us the journey that it went all over Syracuse and some of the different places.
You want to share different locations?
Yeah, I mean, it started out before we joined, was at my parents' house, and then when we came in, it was a tiny church in Mattydale, and even in Mattydale, we had the one space, and then we expanded into the space next door, and there was a little gift shop in the front. One of the members opened a little craft store in the front part, and then we used the back as a Kidman. And then after that, we moved over here to Eastwood on Burnett, and we had a place over there, which was kind of funny because we had, in the old space, it was the church and a dog groomer, and there was something else. And then in the new space, it was the church and the dog groomers. So
That's true. That's right. It was, I think, a seamstress. You're right. It was the same setup.
It was, and the
but
seamstress.
we had our own bathroom. We always had to share a bathroom with everyone else. Previously, I mean, not at the same time, but still, eventually we did have our own bathroom. That's true.
Yes, it was nice to have our own bathroom at that point. And then as we were over there, there was a point where we had a Nepali church that was sharing the space with us. And then at one point we actually gave up our morning church time, and they took over the morning church time, and then we switched over and we did an evening church for a period of time. And then after that we moved over and we were in the basement of the bookstore for, I don't remember
Sacred
how long.
Melody.
Sacred Melody, basement of Sacred Melody,
Yep.
for a little while, waiting for our next space
Yep.
at that point.
That was fall of 2015 through spring of 2016. We were in the basement of Sacred Melody.
So, and then it went through a kind of a branding change, a name change. I think that was just before you kind of were asked to take over. Why Forward Point? Where did that come from?
So I've pondered this before a couple different times. Like, how did even that name come to me? I think
You just finished a time of fasting for a few months, right?
yes, I did.
Not
Of
eating,
course, fasting.
going up to
absolutely.
your
this
attic
desire
and
of
praying.
ministry was always in my life. No, I think, as anyone knows, that if Stephen can do it, anyone can do it because of the fact that he's a goof, and everyone says I am a goof, and it doesn't take me long to know that I'm a goof. But I think I break a lot of traditional molds in the sense that in the past, when you thought of a pastor, you thought of a leader of a church, you think, man, everything in their life is so great, and they're just a man of that cloth, and a man of the, come to my life, and you're going to realize what it really is, and I'm just really honest on things. And so I think one of the things I had to break in my own life, and God had to work on me in it, is that we always, as people, want to arrive somewhere. We always have a goal in mind, and we want to feel secure, like we have hit that mark. We are now a success. We were previously a failure, and now we're a success. And God had to break that down in my life, saying, no, it is not about, your success is not about you arriving on this mountaintop. It is about the day that you say yes to me. You're always going to be in a constant process of moving. You're always going to be in a constant process of growing. And through that, obviously, when I was praying about a church name, I was thinking, obviously, we don't want to use a name that maybe it's already been used a dozen times locally or something else. But this word forward came to my mind. It's not about necessarily the end result. It's the experience and the journey you go on the way and the people that you meet in that process. So the name Forward came in there. Obviously, every church that has the name Point is really great. No, but no, the thought about Point, I'm like, no, it's that moment. It's the moment that you say yes to God, and like, I want to be somewhere different. So is your Forward Point. That's your thing. So then all of a sudden it's stuck, and obviously I'm silly. I looked it up. I'm like, okay, let's see how many other Forward Point. There isn't any. Bingo. No. So that's how I thought of it, but it's stuck, and I loved it.
So even in that, before being asked to take over Forward Point, there seems to be that maybe God is leading to develop some kind of close association, relationship, love for this body that maybe it probably was already there, but going deeper even to leadership. So then talk us through 2015. What's happening as Katrina is threatening people with forks?
Do you want to share a little bit?
Go ahead, good start.
Well, 2015 was another big transition year. Probably every life or every year's been a transition year, but 2015, if anyone knows, again, a little bit of our journey, which again I've shared before, it starts even well over a decade before that. But it wasn't until, most people know me locally as owning the Skinner Real Estate Company, and I have a heart for people with not only just buying and selling homes, but I have a heart for people in this amazing process of, living life. So 2013, I became a real estate agent. So it was even 14 years after my initial journey on that. 2015 was the year I stepped out of the box. It was a very scary year where someone said, you're different. If you work for another company, they're going to keep putting you in a mold. You think differently, and whether it works or not, you need to go on your own. And I was scared stiff to go back to school to own my own company, since I'd only been in real estate not that long. So 2015 was a significant year because I went back to school, and again, maybe the state made a mistake when they eventually passed me, and I kept applying over and over, and I think they eventually got sick of me, kept applying, and then they eventually said, you're good to go, have at it. And so that was a big year in the sense that I opened up the Skinner Real Estate Company, which it's nerve-wracking because you are the covering. There's no longer, there's no longer someone that you're asking questions to. So one was that, and then also 2015 was a huge year of transition because we always had in the back of our minds, man, we love this theater in our community. It's a staple of our community called the Palace Theater. And yet a dream, it's been in the same family over 90 years. There should be no intention ever to leave that family, and we love that family. But then we heard through the grapevine a few years beforehand, they wanted to sell it. And I kept saying to myself, my goodness, if I could ever, that would just be a dream to buy it. But then I heard it had sold. And I'm like, okay, well, that just wasn't in God's plans. But then strange things happen. I get a call that even at the day of closing, the former owner didn't feel comfortable about who he was selling it to. He wasn't sure why, but he said, I called it off. And didn't know, and it wasn't until like a year later I found that out. And then he said to me, we met up, and he said, would you be interested in taking over the theater? And a lot of things had to happen, just like almost miracle type situation had to happen. But 2015, we also took over, it was all within, I think, the same month, took over the ownership of this building. 2016. It was 2015, all that happened, and then 2016, ownership of the building and the church.
So when they asked you to take over the leadership, what was going through your mind? What were you thinking?
I think when he first asked us about, because there was a period of maybe 10 months where he asked us twice. The first time he had initiated the
That was the prayer and fasting part. The prayer and fasting was that part, yes.
That we just kind of talked through, it kind of, when he first asked us, it was unbelievable or kind of laughable, like really. But then it just kind of kept settling in our minds. And then when the question was asked to us seriously, I guess it was serious the first time too, but and we took it seriously, and we both had a conversation at the end of that night, and we said, like, do you feel like this is right? And he's like, do you feel this is right? And we're like, well, in my own power or my own dreams or my futures, no, not at all, but I feel like God wants me to do it. And so we both kind of, by the end of the night, agreed, okay, well, if God wants us to do this, then it's going to have to be him, because we have no idea how to do this or who to do this. And the next morning, we get this phone call.
You don't want to get too ahead of the story, or can we get ahead of the story?
This is the part of the story. We get this phone call from Chazlet, and it was just, she's like, what are you guys doing? Where are you going to church? And Steve starts sharing the vision with her, and it was the beginning of this friendship that it was just this confirmation, because we're like, okay, yes, God, but at the same time we're drowning, going, what are we saying yes to? And he literally sent us this life preserver of the Doyles, saying, here you go, we got you, you're going to be fine. And it was just the beginning of this friendship that has just been incredible. So it's just amazing how God doesn't give you everything when you say yes. Most of the time you look at it and go, the only thing I had was this piece that I've learned to follow, where the whole thing looks miserable. What are you asking me to do? But I know there's a piece there, and that's all I have to ground me. And the next thing I know, after you say yes, then he starts to send you things to confirm it.
Yeah, I think I just can reiterate the thought. It's not about the end result. It's the process of the journey. And so the journey is not about, I want to attain this in my life, or I want to, again, have kids or get married, or I want to earn this, or I want to get this smart, or I want to pray so many hours, or learn whatever, so many worship songs or something. It's about saying yes, Lord, and being able to, when I truly believe that life is more about the response to God as we're being obedient to him than about organizing our day to be so organized that what happens is that many times God calls us and we miss it because we're too agenda focused. So I think the part that God really had to work not only on us, but that changed our life, is that the church did not fit into anything that we even saw coming. We weren't even really thinking about it. And then, but the goal always was, we want to be servants. So we didn't see this coming, but can we be able to lay down everything else, including our businesses and everything? Because that was the thought. The thought was I would have to close up everything that I have worked so hard for 10, 15 years. And I don't even know, I am so inadequate and so unequipped, even though I had a father that was a pastor, and obviously her father had been pastoring, and we've had a lot of wonderful Christians around us. You still, when you get that call, you feel, I don't have what it takes. So again, our lives definitely changed, and I just gave up to the Lord. Says, God, if you want me to do this, you're going to have to bring me people that know what they're doing, and also on top of that, you're going to have to show me I'm a little bit thick. So in turn, yeah, life did. Again, can I even share a little bit about that phone call that day? Okay, so again, everyone knows I've been doing.
Asking me for permission.
Well, whatever. I don't want to get ahead of the story, but the fact that, you know, Jimmy and I, we grew up together. He's talked about, yes, from the homeschool days or basketball, great stories. They are all true. We all did have 5 o'clock shadows at age 8 or 9 years old. No, we did not have. No, we weren't that big. But nonetheless, we played basketball on opposite teams, and we knew each other. And his family's ministry was impactful to the community. And my father, you know, our family had Sacred Melody Bookstore, so we grew up together. But it's just you could not imagine the things that God has for you, that things that you'll grow apart. So he goes off to Bible school. Again, I'm sure he has shared a story, and I'll let him always share his story again about this call for ministry in his life. So he goes on this journey of ministry, and again, through that journey meets Chaz, they get married, all these things. In the meantime, he is not my buddy. We would say we're acquaintances at best. We worked together a little bit previously. We knew each other. There was an integrity level there, but that is it. There was nothing. Then they come back to Syracuse, and I believe it was around 2014-ish, around that time frame-ish, came back to Syracuse again. And I had just gotten into real estate, not even Skinner Realty, and I had a heart for restoring homes. God had just really developed this love to see people live a better life and have somebody that can be an advocate for them. And so they stopped in at an open house I had out of the blue. Well, fast forward again, they weren't ready to buy a home. They just got back in the area. It wasn't until over a year later they contacted me saying, we're ready to buy a home. It's just the weirdest thing. I helped them as a real estate agent buy a home here in Lincourt. The only thing we never really talked ministry at all. I knew he had done some pastoring. I didn't talk about anything ministry-wise. It didn't exist, really. I'm a guy who plays some guitar at a church. And I just think about the fact that I walked with them. We went through houses together. I sold them a house, and nothing transpired. The only thing that we chatted about, man, wouldn't it be so awesome if we ever, own the Palace Theater. I think I shared my heart. It would be awesome at the Palace Theater. And we also I heard his heart about one day it would be so amazing if he could have some type of ice cream community center hangout that he always had this heart of doing something like Adventures on Odyssey, Wits End, in a community place. So I heard that in his heart. He was working at Apple. I just know him as an Apple guy, and I'm a real estate guy. And that was probably about 4 to 6 months before this funny phone call out of the blue.
So we had just moved back from Indiana. We were serving at a church in Indiana, and we were living in my parents' attic, right? They have 2 rooms up there. It was me, my wife, and at that point we had 3 kids. We had 2, somewhat stable ones can take care of themselves, and 1 small one that required some assistance living. And it was all of us in these 2 rooms upstairs, right? And as you can imagine, my wife was excited at the opportunity, the thought of moving out of that into our own place. And we didn't have any money, but she just wanted to look at houses, because maybe looking at the house might help us provide some kind of pot of gold somewhere. And we arrive at this open house, and I see the sign up there front. I'm like, oh, a Stephen Skinner. That's funny. I know a Stephen Skinner. And we walk in, and sure enough, it was you and your brother Matt. And we got to rekindle this relationship. And I'm like, there's no way in the world it's the same Stephen Skinner, because he was always off conquering his multi-level marketing schemes, making tons of money in all these other areas. There's no way he'd be in real estate. But sure enough, he was in real estate. And this was one of what number house was this that you had flipped? That you had. This house was over by University area, right? Probably our friends close to where they're at, right? Drumlins, is that over there in that
Not
area?
too far.
a car had literally driven through the front of this house, right? And Stephen, thinking, oh, I want to get in this game. Let me try something easy. Decides to get this house that a car had driven through. And what number house was that you had?
It was pretty early in the process, and I obviously it's pretty bad when they can't sell it to anyone else. And I go through there, and literally, like it was a cartoon. A car went through the entire house, and they said even the car came to rest on the front edge of a couch, and there was a man sleeping on that couch. And I do have the photos of it. It was insane. And you have me, who doesn't know anything about real estate. I'm like, is it going to fall down tomorrow? And they're like, no, I don't think so. I'll buy it. I like this one. And not really quite knowing what I was getting myself into, but it did turn out amazing. And the house is still standing beautiful to this day. So the contractors we hired did something right. But yeah, that was one of my first, to that level, complete remodels. There's might have been 200-300 cents. But.
Yeah, you had not yet been listening to the Lord, because obviously you didn't give us the house. We had to go on some time afterwards.
Yes.
So then tell us about the phone call.
Yeah. So again, I'm trying to recall if it was December or January, but this would be January 2016. So probably January 2016. The night before, sitting around a table. Again, with my in-laws and with one of our overseers, again, he's passed on now, but we called him Papa Bill. And again, finally, after 6 months, 8 months, 10 months of dreading it, praying about it, fasting about it, just in this thing of saying yes to this, I'll be back under a bridge again, because it's just, a call to ministry is so heavy, and yet not to mention also, there's no guarantee you can even provide for your family. So to say yes to that, but yet say, God, I'm all yours. You do what you want with everything. The next day, I think I'm driving to Sam's Club. We don't even have Sam's Club anymore, but driving to Sam's Club to get gas, I get a call, and I see I think it's Chesla Doyle. And I pick up the call and had not heard from them in, I don't know. I mean, they even invited me to a party, and I didn't even show up. Their housewarming party. I mean, that's like, oh my goodness, I think now I'm there all the time. But no, it had been at least, maybe 4 months, 6 months that they purchased their home in Lingcourt, and I get this call, and they just said, hey, not sure why, but we want to ask you, where are you going to church? And it might have been a text. It might have been a text, and I'm like, it's right. I think it was a text, and it was like literally getting a text from God. And so, looking at it, like, where are you going to church? And I'm like, so I don't know if I text back or said, I got something I got to share with you guys, because they want to know where we're going. But we had just said the night before, yes, but my prayer was, God, if we're going to say yes to this, I need to know you're in it. It was almost like Gideon tossing out his fleece before the Lord. And, I might have wrung it out and said, I want to dry one side, I want to wet on the other side. I really try to test the Lord in every which way. But I just said, God, this is you. I don't even know the first thing. I don't even know the first thing of what to do. I've never spoken. Again, obviously just being really vulnerable. Even up to that moment, when you think of a pastor or a leader, you think of someone who maybe has witnessed to people or if it's prayed for people to receive Christ. I had never done that up to that moment. And believe me, God gave me plenty of chances after that to put me in a vulnerable state. But that all changed. And so that's when we said, I think we had to get with you guys or whatever. Yeah, sit down with you guys and just share what's going on. And it kicked off to really something crazy.
So the Doyle family starts investigating the Skinners. Obviously, we knew you as a kid. We've known Katrina. Well, I've known Katrina as well since we homeschooled together, and we were in a, like little childhood play together. We like sheep and all these things. We have roots, but I have no idea what they're about now in life. So we meet with them, and then we do a little investigating. And it was really the video that we saw, and I know a lot of other people have seen this video and think, oh, wow, yeah, we definitely buy into this vision. I wonder if we can pause for a second just to show you real quick this video that really sealed the deal for us. We said, okay, we're in. We'll follow you to wherever you guys are going because we trust in what you're doing. So check out this video. You may recognize someone or not.
There was times where I would drive down our community. It was hard to just say, it's okay, it's gonna get better. And it wasn't a month or two of saying that. It would go on for years because you can't help it. You can't help but notice on the blogs and people emailing that said, what are you doing? Bankers coming into our ear saying, you're wasting your time. That will never work. That will never happen. think people, when they think of Eastwood, they think things are closed up, town's over with, people are moving out. 10, 15 years ago, probably over half the main drag was boarded up, broken glass. I remember blue tarps on top of all the roofs, and I remember graffiti and sidewalks that were all broken up. That's something that grieved many residents, and obviously it grieved myself. I mean, our brokerage company, we opened up just a little over a year ago. I had no idea what to expect. It's not been really a year when I think about it. It's really been over a decade. You know, my goal right now is to continue to see more shops, more food options, places to go walk to, key properties that bring and cultivate, that can cultivate an entire block or an area, be taken, renovated, and birth life out of them. It seems like yesterday because I love it, but it's been painful. It's been a lot of nights with tears and my wife crying and myself wondering what am I doing with myself? Is it worth it? You gotta stick at it. If we would have given up, we would never have seen anything. We've seen more impact in the last 3 to 4 years of what we've done than obviously the previous 10 or 12. And it's multiplying at a rapid pace. This is about all the families that are putting their money and their time and their energy into a community. You sit there and you just say, wow, man, am I thankful that I'm part of something much bigger than whatever intended, and to know that, wow, we're part of the renaissance of this. We're creating stories that people will tell their kids 20, 40, 60 years down the road, and we were all part of it. We were all part of a resurrecting of a small community that a good chunk of people gave up on. It's not where it needs to be, or the end result, but it's not where it was. In the end, it was the fight that I wanted, and it was the challenge to say, we're gonna overcome. There's something greater inside of us all, and we're gonna continue the fight.
Here's the cool thing about that video is that you could watch that video and you never necessarily, Stephen talks about not having any background in ministry or Bible school, but that to me is like I'm about to plant a church video and who wants to join me type of thing, right? You'd have no idea that it was for his business, and it's because his goal and his mindset and their goal and mindset and the reason they do anything that they do, it's a different motivation, right? There's a motivation that goes beyond just making money, setting yourself up for financial stability. It's about the impact that we're going to have on the people around us. So we watched that video. I don't even think you pointed it out to us necessarily. I think I just was doing some research and I came across the video and I saw it and I showed it to my wife and I said, yeah, we're willing to follow that vision, because to me that is, you go to Bible school, they train you how to count heads and seats, and they train you how to count offering, and they train you how to do the kind of establishment church. But what we got a glimpse of was something that was so much bigger than a building and 4 walls and a system or an organization. It was an organism, right? It was something that was alive. It was something to be a part of, and that was going to go beyond the walls of any one particular building. So we said, yeah, we want to be all in. We want to be about it. And that was, how long ago was that?
So that video came out, I think it was spring or winter of 2016. It was before, yeah. I mean, I think about that video and I think I'm better looking now than I was then. No. So such a messed up person. It was before, we did not own the theater at that time. And I mean, a good chunk of even all of James Street here, the businesses that, you do see some businesses there, and those businesses, it's amazing. Every single one of those businesses are still open. And that video, again, was 6 years ago, but they had already been open for almost 10 years at that time. So, but they're still open to this very day, which is an awesome thing. But on top of that, I think another 20 or 30 more have come on since, and a lot of other restorations, and there's a lot of things in the works right now. But
I do think about it. I'm like, wow, a lot had happened, but like the video said, it was more about the story of overcoming. It was about telling a story that people can believe in something. And obviously, it's a real estate video, and yet it's not, but it is a real estate video. So it gives a glimpse of where our heart is at, and our heart for the church, and what the story brand of this church is when it comes to others.
I think it's a calling video, right? Even more than a real estate video, it's a calling video. You're calling that you've invited people to join with, and that's the story. All throughout the Old Testament, God calls the people of Israel to be separate, to be set apart, to be a peculiar people, and along the way, God does some amazing things, and each time God does something amazing, he tells them to build an altar, right? So every time that you see this altar, you're going to remember what God did back a generation ago, a couple generations ago, and not forget. Unfortunately, they tended to forget, and they would repeat these cycles. But for us, what we want to do is we want to create this altar moment, right? We want to remember, we want to look back, because the reality is, if you look around the room, most of you have probably just started coming to Forward Point since COVID. Did anybody here been a part of Forward Point before COVID? A few people, yeah. So for the majority is people who are new, just started since COVID, and that's really when Forward Point is started to find its own, right? It just feels like 6 months ago that we've just started to, because we never had an opportunity together to like meet for a year, to build a core team together. We just kind of took over, started, running with our feet going fast without, having much of a team of people. And now more than ever, it feels like we're at a place where we're ready to break through into some awesome things that we just have seen throughout the month of December. But before we start talking about where we're going, it's important for us to remember where we've been, right? To remember the roots, the calling, because that really solidifies the calling that God has given us here as a part of Forward Point. That through, God knew that he was going to ask Stephen at some point to take over the reins, to invite us, to have you guys here, and that would be the heartbeat of Forward Point, to not think about how can we fill up this theater as much and as fast as possible, but we don't want to meet together unless we're having an impact on the streets around us, right? We don't want to be gathering together and growing something huge and grandiose if we're not getting to a place where if we had to close the doors, then the city wouldn't be, Eastwood wouldn't be crying out, no, don't go someplace, right? If we got a phone call that said, hey, do you want to plant Forward Point down in Florida, right? We'd have to fight. My wife would be the first person to say, yes, that's the God's will for our life. But we'd have to have, we'd want people to be, chaining us down to say, no, you're not allowed to leave because of the impact that you have on the community.
That's right.
The Northeast, what do they call it? The frozen chosen, right? The Northeast is not an easy place to plant a church, right? It's not an easy place, right, to be able to just pick up, open your doors. You go down south, you open up a church, and you can have, a mega church just by having popcorn like we do. But here in the Northeast, it's very hard. It requires a lot of tilling of the soil, right? And there's a way that we want to grow trust with our community. We believe that we're going to let people to belong before they believe, and it requires this long process that you get to be a part of, but it's important for us to remember and to have these altar moments. Not that we're going to worship these altars and that they're going to, but because we need to remember where God has taken us, and that he's up to something new, he's up to something different, and we're excited to be on this journey. And we're grateful for your faithfulness through all the years of tilling beforehand, and then to everything that we get to enjoy now. So if you wouldn't mind, Forward Point, if you could just express some thanks to the Skinners for all of their hard work, all of their faithfulness. It's no small thing. It definitely demonstrates a life of faithfulness and integrity to be where we're at today because of all the years. So would you guys just pray for us as we get ready to respond? Just pray for us, for Forward Point, for everybody here, just that God would continue to work in us and through us.
Father, I just thank you for this beautiful faith community that you've brought together, like-minded hearts, and the willingness to be there where you are, the willingness to follow you when things don't make sense. I thank you for all the people that have come before. I thank you for my dad for setting us up, and I thank you for our pastors who have set us up, and people that those here don't even know, but have played a part in everything that we've done. And I just thank you for your hand in this place, how you fill this building up with your presence every Sunday morning and when we're here, and the beautiful things that are about to come in the future, God, as we stand here together the first day of the year. Lord, I just thank you for the blessing of what this year is going to look like for us.
Father, again, I just thank you so much that even when you prayed in the garden, you knew your life was coming to an end here on earth, but something bigger was on the scene. You said, may they be one as you and I are one. I pray that that would be our heart's prayer, that we would abide in you, that you're going to call some people today to make some life changes that are going to change their destiny forevermore. I pray that we would not have our agendas so tight and so set that we can't move when the Spirit's calling us. 2023 can be the very best year that anyone has ever seen before. Not because we'll all get pay raises, not because the economy is so great, not because our sports teams win or our political parties in the majority. It's because you are in control. And I pray that we would align ourselves and we could live on purpose today. I pray that we would set aside the things that have maybe been tripping us up, things that have been slowing us down. I pray that we would really seek you with our whole heart, knowing that you're going to do some amazing things in and through us, not just as a group, but inside us, that are going to change future generations to come, so that even down the road they'll say, I remember God when. So thank you so much for what you've done in and through this body. Continue to just pray a blessing over everyone here. In Jesus' name, amen.
I'm calling on the God of Jacob, whose love endures through generations. I know that you will keep your covenant. I'm calling on the God of Moses, the one who opened up the ocean. I need you now to do the same thing for me. Oh God, my God, I need you. Oh God, my God, I need you now. How I need you now. Oh rock of ages, I'm standing on your faithfulness, on your faithfulness. I'm calling on the God of Mary, whose favor rests upon the lowly. I know with you all things are possible. I'm calling on the God of David, who made a shepherd boy courageous. I may not face Goliath, but I've got my own giants. Oh God, my God, I need you. Oh God, my God, I need you now. How I need you now. Oh rock You heard your children and you hear your children now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You answered prayers back then, and you will answer now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You were providing then. You are providing now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You moved in power then. God moved in power now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You were a healer then. You are a healer now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You were a savior then. You are a savior now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You freed the captives there. You're freeing hearts right now. You are the same God. You are the same God. You touched the lepers there. I feel your touch right now. You are the same God. You are the same God. Oh God, my God, I need you. Oh God, my God, I need you now. How I need you now. Oh rock of ages, I'm standing on your faithfulness. On your faithfulness. Oh God, my God, I need you. Oh God, my God, I need you now. How I need you now. Oh rock of ages, I'm standing on your faithfulness. On your faithfulness. We're standing on your faithfulness. We're leaning on you, Lord. Jesus. Worthy of every song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Thank you, Jesus. Lord, I pray that you would just open our eyes to who you are and who you are calling us to be in this new year, Lord. more of you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. In the darkness you were waiting, without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes, to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word, from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. To reveal the kingdom coming and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering you saw to the other side, knowing this was our salvation. Jesus, for our sake you died. Yeah! Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. And the morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath, till that stone was rolled for good, and the Lamb had conquered death, and the dead rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe, for the souls of all who'd come to the Father are restored, and the Church of Christ was born. Then our Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth of old shall not kneel, shall not fade. By His blood and by His name, in His freedom I am free. For the love of Jesus Christ has resurrected me. Praise the Father, praise the Son,
gentlemen, we absolutely love you guys. And again, we have one more song to play. And I'm just going to say Happy New Year. I'm supposed to give you a little reflection, and I'm thinking to myself, reflection on what I maybe said. You know, if anything I take away, even from today, is let's be in the business of saying, yes, Lord. We are all on this journey together. It is probably the scariest moment to say, yes, Lord, but the wonders of God, he says in 1 Corinthians, that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love him. So we could not be more thankful that you are on this journey. You are on the journey that God has for you. But whatever part that we can play in that journey of helping you reach your purpose in Christ, we want to be part of it. Again, it's not reaching to that mountaintop. It is the journey of those that bring you, that come with you, and that you can bring along with you. So again, we stand very humbled and just absolutely love what God is doing in and through your lives here. As always, if this is your home church, again, not for those that are just guests or visiting, but if it's your home church, there's always a joy box in the back that you can give to. You always can give online or by text message. Again, if God's putting you this as your home church, yes, every dime and every penny that comes to this church gets used properly for building the kingdom here, locally here. In the meantime, there's always prayer teams there's a prayer corner out in the lobby there that they have an amazing time. Don't leave here. If there's something on your heart, there's something either that's been nagging you or someone that has been on your heart that you want to pray over. It could be someone's health. It could be a relationship that's been broken. Something, maybe yourself, you say, you know what, I want to receive Christ in my life. Don't leave today without going to that prayer corner and having someone agree with you in prayer. That's what it's all about here. And as always, get involved. Get into either a life group in a few weeks. We'll be kicking back up again. Get signed up for the movie night, invite some friends, write a list of people down you want to invite, or just say hi to Jimmy and the crew over at Love Handles this week. We love you guys. We have one more song, though.
God of Jacob, the great I am, King of angels, Son of man, voice of many waters, song of heaven's throne, louder than the thunder, make your glory known. Hail, Lion of Judah, let the lion roar. 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 Pride of Zion, prophet spoke, our Messiah, flesh and bone. You alone are worthy to open up the scroll. Like a lamb you suffer, but the lion has a rose. Hail, Lion of Judah, let the lion roar. 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 Roar, roar, roar. Prepare the way of the Lord, prepare the way. Prepare the way of the Lord, prepare the way. Prepare the way of the Lord, prepare the way. Prepare the way of the Lord. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Low, low, let the lion roar. Roar. Hail, hail, Lion of Judah, let the lion roar. Hail, hail, Lion of Judah, let the lion roar. Hail, hail, Lion of Judah, let the lion roar. Hail, hail, Lion of Judah, let the lion roar. Hail, hail, Lion of Judah, let the lion roar. Hail, hail, Lion of Judah, let the lion roar. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Can you hear the lion roar? Can you hear the lion roar? He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. Oh, prepare the way. Prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare the way. Prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare the way. Prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare the way. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Oh, valley, be raised up. Oh, mountain, be made low. Low, low, let the lion roar. Roar, let the lion roar. Roar, let the lion roar. Let him roar. All right, it's a new year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year!
Hey, I love you guys. Thanks for worshiping with me and rocking out for Jesus.
Yeah.
Hey, make Jesus the center of your life in this new year. You want more Jesus, right?
Yeah.
All right, God bless you guys. Have a blessed week.